I'm on a rocket ship. I'm on a rocket ship.
Allow me to set the scene. Today, the 5th of July, indeed the day after the 4th of July, is the day that I have Run Club. Yesterday was the first time since April that I've had an alcoholic beverage. So I had a fitful night of sleep, tossed and turned, and woke up with a crick in my neck, and sauntered off to Run Club to run a brisk, overpaced 10 miles because I lost my pace group because I had to pee. Then, in the afternoon, I broke out the Hoka Rocket X3 for the third consecutive day running doubles. So I am in all sorts of, fatigue, I guess you would call it. The world is sort of hilarious to me right now. I don't know if you guys all get in this like slap happy sort of lines blurring state of existence when you're really extremely tired and have a 17-mile long run plan for tomorrow. But guess what? It was a really good day. I had a really good day of running. It was a fun time with Run Club, despite my own personal kerfuffle with it. And it's really hot today. It's like 90 or 95. I didn't even look before this video. It doesn't even matter. It was really hot, especially on my second run of the day, which was, again, like I said, in the Hoka Rocket X3. So I've been testing this for a little while, and there's a few reasons why I haven't made a video on it yet. First couple of reasons is I really wanted to get out the initial thoughts video on the Takumi Sen 11, and I was just so eager to do a comparison to the Streak Fly because those are direct competitors, and I absolutely adore the Streak Fly, and the Takumi Sen 11 is thoroughly growing on me over the course of the two runs that I've ran in it. And now I'm very delighted to say that could be added, the Rocket X3 could be added to that category of shoes that have improved over time and have grown on me over time. The first run in this was kind of a total disaster, and it was not the shoe's fault. It was just a compound effect of absolute fatigue and tiredness. And I was having such a hard time getting this locked down on that run, and actually on the rest of the runs that I've done in this so far. And so, but that run was so miserable because I had to stop and start and stop and start, and it just felt like a total slog, and I didn't want my opinion of this shoe to be tarnished by that one specific run, especially given the fact that if you've been following along with me for the last couple of videos, you'll know that I often do have a hard time finding a lockdown in shoes, and so I try not to hold the shoe specifically accountable unless it really is the shoe's fault. And so I'm going to touch on some stuff with the Rocket X3. We'll go do some stats really quick. I didn't actually look up the stats before doing this video. But I do know, I did memorize a couple of them. So it's a 7 mil drop. I'm sure that implies that it's 40 in the heel. It might be, unless you're measuring the shoes specifically, and I don't have the implements yet to do that. This stack is, taken at face of what the company is saying. And so this is their marathon racer. It's probably going to be up at 40 down to 33 for the 7 mil drop that Running Warehouse cited. It's two different types of PIBA. And you could even totally see it. So there's the shiny PIBA. I'm not really sure what makes it. You can see the glimmer right around here, but it's shiny along this part right here up until this winged plate. And same with this side, and it sort of comes to about there, through there, and on the lateral side there to there, right? And then you have this little picture window of a winged plate, which really is just like a little tiny scoop that scoops up your foot. And that's nice. I've actually really enjoyed shoes that have the winged plate like that. And then you have the other layer of PIBA. This is the PIBA in the forefoot. The top layer in the forefoot is a little squishier, and the bottom layer on the heel and at the bottom of the forefoot is a little denser. Then on the bottom, well, of course, and you have a carbon fiber plate. Wow, who would have thought? At bottom is rubber. There's rubber. It's cool. It's just nice and grippy. Nothing special about the rubber. So that's it. That's the stats. Oh, and then wait, we'll do a quick weight, because when I weighed this in, they had a cited weight, I think, of 220 grams in the sample size, but mine, when I first weighed it, weighed in a little lighter. So I want to check to see if that's the case still. Yeah, so 208 in one of them. And 210 in the other. So I'm just going to double check that. Yeah, 208 and 210. So good QA. Lower weight than what I was expecting going into getting the shoe. Which is actually, when you think about it, that 208 for marathon racing shoe obviously is becoming standard over time, because like the new Metaspeed shoes are coming in at some ridiculous like 175 or 176 grams. And then what was even the Metaspeed Edge Paris from a couple of generations ago is under 200. I think it's 198 in my size, or maybe 190, can't remember offhand. But this is really light for Hoka, for the Rocket. It's lighter than the last generation, to my knowledge. I never had the Rocket X2. I know it's a fan favorite, and I'm hoping, for the sake of a lot of you out there that really love the Rocket X2, that this lives up to the expectations. I'm not going to be able to give you the yes, this is the same, or no, it's changed in this way, you're going to hate it or you're going to love it. I know the Rocket X2, or at least I believe the Rocket X2 was a little bit lower. And that's one of the things to touch on before we jump into the actual review of this shoe, is that this is now becoming what the Cielo X1 was last generation. So if that's confusing, yeah, it is confusing. I'll try to shed some light on it. The Cielo X1 was the intended to be originally the fast Hoka shoe, the fast, the big time Alpha Fly competitor, like super marathon racer that everybody would wear for their fastest time. However, it was heavy, and so it didn't really work for that purpose, and then it ended up being like a long run shoe, and it's actually one of my favorite long run shoes, and I'll totally do a comparison of this and the Cielo X1. Well, then Hoka, in all of their infinite wisdom, came out with the Cielo X1 2.0, did some advanced calculus in the naming department, and then also changed the shoe entirely to be their fast racer, because that's what it was always intended to be, even though their first one was not. It was more of a long run shoe. They wanted to pursue the direction of speed in the Cielo line, right? And the Rocket X2 was originally their super speedy shoe, right? It was a little bit lower and it was the faster one. Well, now the Rocket X3 is their comfy cruising marathon shoe. So you'll see that division in a bunch of different brands. They break it out in different ways, but you have... Fuck. Is that a fly? Are you gonna get the fly? Yeah, get it, buddy. You can do it. Yeah, you can do it. Where is it? Get the... It's two flies. Yeah, get the fly. Get the fly. You dogs, did you get the flies? Good boy, Hawk. Good boy. Yeah. Are you happy? You're big. Do you need to go outside? So you have brands doing different things with their marathon racers. Like, for example, in Nike, you have the Alpha Fly as the total marathon cruiser, and they're trying to reposition their other super shoe, the OG super shoe, the Vaporfly, to be slightly shorter distance, like half marathon, maybe up to marathon, right? And then you have other brands like Adidas separating it, where you have the Adios Pro 4, but then you also have the Pro Evo 2 or Evo Pro 2 or whatever, again, naming calculus. And then you have the the two Metaspeeds, which confuse the heck out of everybody. And now there's going to be the Ray as well, which is like, whoa, like calm down with the whole trying to over categorize everything, all of the brands. But then, you know, Hoka is doing this, and I'm sure I'm missing. I don't know enough about On to go down that rabbit hole. I'll try to learn about On maybe. And Saucony Endorphin Elite, right? That was actually a really harsh, fast, firm. It's like top end elite super shoe, and then they made it really squishy with the Incrediron, but it's still positioned as this like top end elite super shoe versus the Endorphin Pro. And I haven't run in those. I've only stepped in them, so I don't really know enough about them to make any like total judgment on their performance capability. But the point is, we have all of this division in the market between the different types of super shoes, and different brands handle it in different ways, right? So the way that Hoka is trying to delineate now is the Rocket X3 is the more comfortable, softer, or not softer, but the more comfortable and cruisery, more stable marathon racing shoe, and their Cielo X1 2.0 is their fast and just, you know, for the professional geared, or speedier people, or people that don't mind breaking their ankles. So whatever, doesn't matter. But that's just the overlay and the background on the shoe. So what was my experience over the last 3 days with this shoe? Let's go upper, down. And actually go over the upper. The upper material is this nice, like airy. It maintains its shape. It's like a mesh of some sort. I don't know if it's a special type of mesh. It has a nice, you know, sort of squishy-ish mesh tongue, great laces, serrated laces. You know, in the last couple of months, I've been seeing more and more brands bringing out the serrated laces, and it's refreshing to see such a thing. You get this somewhat shallow elf ear, or elf, heel. I don't know what people call that, but it's a pointy heel. That's the upper, right? And then the wings plate, and so on and so forth. This looks, by the way, a lot of people were on Reddit talking trash about this colorway. It looks better in person, and I never actually hated it when I saw it on Reddit. So maybe I'm just like, I could just have bad taste. I don't have very good styles. Don't take my word for it, but I personally think this looks good. And I think it's like, it's subtle because it's just like the blues with the blues and the blacks and the grayscale and the white and the two different whites on the two different Pibas. I think it's actually a more detailed and refined but still subtle shoe. And it matches my watch. So get over it if you don't like it. It's a nice colorway. Even like the stitching on the back, it's a nice detail. That's just my opinion. I'm a pretty dumb person as far as fashion is concerned. So so actually it's probably really ugly if I like it. Whatever. So let's start with the bad, because I didn't want to put out a review straight away on this for a couple of reasons. I wanted to, like I said at the beginning of this, cover some other shoes first, but I wanted to give it a chance. So the very first negative, this is the biggest negative so far, is getting a lockdown on this, on the heel, is nigh on impossible. I didn't even manage it today. Towards the end of the run today, I was just sort of dealing with heel lift the entire time. And now again, I personally do struggle with this, with fit in a lot of shoes, typically on my right foot. It is just, I don't know what it is. For me, it's just differently shaped. There's pretty much not a shoe that I don't have to mess with on my right foot, right? The left foot is almost always good. A fit is challenging when it does not fit my left foot. So that's why the Rocket X3 has presented such a challenge to me, because it doesn't really fit either foot for me perfectly well, and it has been a finicky bastard trying to get it locked down correctly and even just fitted correctly to my foot. So the good news is, in trying to get a lockdown, I really didn't experience any lace bite. The tongue has sufficient padding to prevent there being any lace bite. And sometimes when I really need to crank the laces down, I can feel my foot go dead and like start tingling, and that really hasn't so much been the case. Hawk, lay down. So that's my main number one concern with it. Second is related to the fit. It's that I've been getting hot spots and or plate feel sometimes. And I know that it's related to lockdown and fit because sometimes, right, I could be going for an extended period of time and it just that doesn't happen. And so for reference, I have maybe somewhere around 20 miles on these. I would say between 15 and 20 is probably around. I'm tracking it. I just forgot to look before this video. And so I might actually run in this tomorrow for my long run, and I'll have an even more developed opinion, but there's also a chance that I reach for the Cielo X1 to sort of go over a comparison between the two, because this is becoming what that was, right? So that's why I'm still up in the air of what I'm going to do tomorrow. But I do have sufficient miles on this now over the course of 3 days, taking the shoe on and off, to tell you like a little bit about when I've been having these problems and when I haven't. And so those were two of the things. And I think that an explanation maybe for the heel lift is this elf tab. I've always been skeptical of shoes with the elf tab. I've never bought a shoe with the elf heel collar because I have a feeling, or I had a feeling, that heel lift would be a perpetual problem in those shoes. And I've actually run somewhat extensively in the Hoka Mach 6, and that I never purchased it, even though I tried it on pretty extensively. Did a lot of back and forth in it to see if it would be a good fit for me. That it didn't work because of the heel collar, and so I think that's really what's happening here. But that's it. And then the same thing with the plate feel. So those were the negatives of the shoe. Oh, actually, sorry. Also, again, due to the fit and the not perfect lockdown, I think that this fits a bit short. And I'm not sure if it's because you see how this toe cap right here is different. There's like some rigidity or like a plastic piece or an overlay or something on there, and where it transitions from mesh to that, right? My big toe is coming into contact with that, and it feels like I'm hitting the front of the shoe, but I don't actually think I'm hitting the front of the shoe. I think the medial side of the shoe that I'm running into, that is still an issue. However, if I get it locked down correctly, that's not happening. So I really think it's all like a series of cascading problems that stem from the same fit issues that I'm having. And I think this is the linchpin problem here, right? So negatives over, positives now. This is a super shoe, right? And, I'm spoiled because I'm buying all of these shoes to test for you guys. I've been really enjoying doing this as a hobby. It's brought a lot of smiles to my face. I love the diversity of new running experiences that I've had the privilege to have for myself as a result of this. And this is one of those rides where today this really started to click for me. Right? There's not a whole lot that's excitingly new or like blaringly new about this, right? There's a dual layer of foam. A lot of shoes have experimented with dual layer foams, right? The new Metaspeed series coming out is both of them have flip-flops, dual layer foams. There's a ton of different training options that take that tactic, like Boston 13, the Hoka Mach X2, I'm trying to think offhand. I mean, there's any number of dual. I mean, the Super Blast, not exactly like dual density where there's a bigger amount in the heel versus the forefoot, but that has like a huge slab of FF Turbo Plus, and then whatever the something Blast, FF Blast or whatever it is on the bottom layer of the Super Blast. That's a two-layer construction. A lot of shoes, that's my point. A lot of shoes use a dual foam construction. The way they've done it here, I think, is really nice. I think perhaps the top layer of PIBA might be a little bit soft in this, and that could explain the plate feel, but I wasn't always getting the plate feel. It was only when I didn't have a perfect lockdown on this. I also really am a fan of the winged plate. I don't have strong stability needs, but I do pronate pretty aggressively, more on one foot than the other. And so, it's nice to have those, like that clipped in feeling around the shoe, and it's not exaggerated. You probably wouldn't even know unless they put the tech here, but it does feel stable again when you have a good lockdown. I feel like this whole video is going to have an asterisk on it about lockdown, but that's sometimes what, I feel like that's why I held off making this review for so long, because I haven't been able to correct some of the issues in this shoe, but I do feel they're correctable, right? So why do I feel that way? I had the Adios Pro 3 as my first racing shoe ever, and until the shoe died, I was correcting issues with it. It was the most finicky shoe ever, even more so than this. And so I have this somewhat, I mean, not in the foam density, not in the midsole experience, not in any way does this remind me of the Adios Pro 3, except for how finicky it is, but how rewarding it is when you get it right. And so about my run today, the stage was set poorly, as I was telling you. It was warm. I was exhausted. I'm still exhausted. It was a really rough night last night. My dog, one of them, not the one that caught the fly, but the big boy, he is Strider, and he is terrified of fireworks. So it was a really long night. And after 10 miles this morning, I broke this out for roughly 5.5 this afternoon. And it just reminded me, because I haven't run in a fast carbon racer in a while. I've been doing a lot of runs in the Hoka CLO X1. I mean, the Takumi, so it's a glass fiber rod, lower slung, like 5 to 10K and maybe half marathon racer, if you count that, and then the Streak Fly, if you count that, but a full stack, PIBA foamed marathon shoe. This reminded me how much I really enjoy that experience underfoot. And the ROCKER, you should call this the Hoka Rocket X3, because it's late enough, but it's not too late where you feel like you're falling off a cliff. It gives you enough, let's see if I can get a flat situation going on. My arm's not really flat, so if you ever see me doing this, I know that this isn't a good tell, but you can see how the ROCKER looks on my lumpy arm, and it's just boom. I don't know. It's just the perfect geometry for my stride, apparently. I did actually feel like, so there's the whole topic about stride runners versus cadence runners, and I think that a lot of us kind of find that ridiculous, but I did find that when I was putting more power down into the shoe and taking longer strides deliberately, because this topic's been rattling around in my head, that this responded even better to that type of running. I don't really think that I'm more of a cadence runner or more of a stride runner. I think it depends on what type of strides I'm running. I do tend to sit around 170 cadence at lower paces. I mean, my pace and cadence scale really, really closely. So my pace and cadence almost have like a linear correlation when they go up. and I don't track stride length. So I don't know what my stride does when I, run faster. And I don't care. It's a silly distinction. Maybe if I went to the ASICS testing facility and asked them to explain it to me in like I was an absolute toddler, and then put me on a treadmill and tell me what I am, then I'll do it. But until ASICS reaches out to me, a very slow runner, to try that for them for no reason other than I want them to put me on through the paces, then I will wait until that point to try to understand it. That was a big tangent. But I did feel like when I took longer strides in this really gave me more. And I felt like I locked in. I was talking about yesterday, each shoe has a perfectly optimal pace. I know I'm talking nonsense, right? I don't know what I'm talking about for the most part. I am only sharing my experience. However, I did lock in at like a 720 pace in this really fluidly. I do think I got it down to, I think like a 620 pace at one point throughout the run, just now, the one I'm getting back from. But I'm sure that, this has a wider range than a lot of shoes. But the 720 pace today was what I was sort of accidentally locked into. I don't know, maybe that changes with weather and heat and humidity and whatever, and energy level. I mean, I just drank a bunch of caffeine before I went out for the run. Maybe I was just hyped. But yeah, it felt really good. It just felt really good to run in this. And the stability is pretty on point with this on my right foot. I did have slippage of the upper, which made it unstable at times. So the platform wasn't the issue. It wasn't like I was sinking into the foam and tipping off of it, right? It was that I was not locked down perfectly. My foot moved inside of the upper, resulting in me overcorrecting from that sudden proprioception of being off balance. And so inside the shoe. So it's really hard to say if, like, I didn't experience any stability issues outside of that, and I typically don't. So it's not stable for sure because it's a softer foam, which kind of brings me to my next point. It is not the softest foam either. It is soft, but it is not aggressively soft. It sits somewhere for the shoes that I know really well. It sits somewhere between the Hoka CLO X1 being on the soft side and the Metaspeed Edge Paris being on the firm side of Piba. Sits pretty squarely in between the two, with like something like the Takumi Sen being really harsh, and maybe the Streak Fly 2 being a little bit softer than the Edge Paris, but still harder than this. So it's on the softer side of the things that I own. But like on the far radical side of this, something like the Neo Zen is extremely soft, even for me, softer than the Hoka CLO X1. So it's just a little like spectrum of shoes and where their softness lies. This is somewhere in the middle. And yeah, I think that when people are positioning this as a soft shoe, it's correct. It is a soft shoe, but not as soft as you might expect. So that's kind of my breakdown so far on this. I'm going to continue to run in it totally a lot. I would love this to become a long run option for me as the CLO X1 starts to wither and die eventually. And probably I'm going to start running in the Metaspeed Edge Paris a little bit more. Do let me know if you want me to test any of the Metaspeed shoes. I'm still unsure if I'm going to buy those. They are expensive, is the one thing. And I'm kind of seeing some mixed reviews on them that they're not new enough. And it's like, what does this market even want? Like we can't be perpetually getting newer and newer things. Otherwise, shoe companies are going to be releasing new shoes and updates to new shoes every 6 months. And like, it's just going to be an onslaught of consumerism. We can't go down that path. It's just not sustainable, right? And not to mention that these are all made out of, we can't talk about the fossil fuels that the industry uses because we wouldn't have the industry without it. So If you know any sustainable biofoams and companies that sell shoes with biofoams, that's something I have some curiosity about. And if you think that there are any shoes like that you would like me to test, do also let me know. This has been an especially meandering review. I'm not going to give this a score because I'm not going to do that. But I really enjoyed my run in it today. It put a smile on my face. I felt so good and so fast in it. But the upper has been a pain. So that's the review. I appreciate all of your attention. Keep giving me ideas. I'll keep giving you reviews. Let me know if you want to see more dog-related content. And I'll see you all again soon. So there was actually one more thing I wanted to add about the Rocket X3. It felt like the heel to toe drop was way more than 7. I run in pretty much only under 8 for heel to toe drop. Partially because anytime I've tried 8 or higher, it feels like it's too high and clunky for me. The heel in the Rocket X3 felt a little intrusive at times throughout the run. That was it. That's the only thing I needed to add to the review. I'm sure that most of you will not have a problem with this, but it really didn't feel like a 7 mil drop to me. It felt like above 8. So you know.